Hi, I'm Jeff Bermudez.
And I'm Omar Kadri.
Welcome to The Collective Journey.
Join us as we explore some of the most promising talents, thought leaders, and change influencers in our city and beyond.
As we uncover these hidden gems, I hope you'll find that they're people just like you and I, with hopes and dreams and gifts that they would like to show to the world.
It is our mission to share their work, to share their story, and to appreciate what our community is capable of producing.
This is my adventure.
This is your adventure.
This is our collective journey. Hello and welcome to The Collective Journey. I'm Jeff Bermudez. Last week we had the pleasure of meeting Olivia Achmann, a local graphic designer running her own business making designs and concepts for businesses and clients. Today we explore more of what goes into her craft as well as the daily challenges both internal and external that she has to contend with. Olivia Achmann, Act 2, starts now.
In terms of digital painting, it's kind of similar. There's a lot of programs out there like Corel Painter, Photoshop. There are some free ones I can't name right now, but specifically Corel Painter has paintbrush textures that you can, with a tablet or with your mouse, you can actually simulate the brush stroke of an oil brush or a watercolor stroke, and then the watercolor water blots and how that dries, it actually does that for you on these programs, depending on what kinds of plugins you have. Some of those are native to Corel Painter. Some of them you have to import into the program. Some creators create paintbrushes like that, and that's all they do. So,
have you ever created a paintbrush that you can, do you know, are you that familiar with the program that you could do it yourself?
Absolutely.
Really?
That's actually one of our workshops in one of my past classes at school. We just explored creating our own custom paintbrush, and for the purposes of that workshop, I believe it was a bubble, and we created sort of a negative of where we thought the shadows and the lights would be in that bubble, just based on our eye. We kind of drew that with the paintbrush in Photoshop. We made sure that layer that we drew on had no background underneath it, therefore it's transparent. And then what you can do is just save that whole file as a brush stroke. So that will then be dragged across the quote-unquote canvas of your program in whatever setting that you've chosen. And there's so many different settings that it gets very, very technical. And sometimes it even makes my head spin. So it's very technical, and a lot of Adobe products are very specific, and they actually apply to a lot of things you see today, like the packages that you see at the grocery store, advertisements, bus shelters, really anything, the pack of gum that you just bought. Everything was made on one of those types of programs, which is pretty interesting.
I don't know if I heard you correctly earlier. I must have misheard it, but you said you didn't go to school, like you kind of just learned everything on your own.
I did.
And then I thought I heard you say that you took a class.
No, so I did not take any class for art. I mean, I took art in high school.
Oh, okay.
As we all had to take art in high school, but no, I've never taken any formal education for it. I actually applied to University of Waterloo for art, and they didn't care about my grades, so I actually didn't get in there. And then after that, I ended up going for dental assisting at Medics.
Really?
And I had great marks as a dental assistant.
I think I remember that now.
Yeah.
That's why you left Future Shop, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
How long did you do that?
So that was a year-long program, and it was start to finish 1 year straight. We had a couple 2-week breaks, and that was about it. And after that, I worked for, I would say, like, full-time about 5 months, and then I had enough. I really, really hated the field. I loved the work, and I loved the science behind dentistry itself, and it was very interesting to me, but I just could not stand working in that environment, and I worked in a very toxic environment at the time. So it was for the best that I moved on to something more creative, which was, at the time, it was marketing, and I thought that I could since I was artistic and creative, I could create meaningful and interesting advertisements because I have that level of creative understanding.
So you did school for the marketing part.
Yes.
Okay. And when was that? How long after you had quit your dental assistant job?
Immediately.
Immediately. Okay.
I immediately applied to Niagara College that April, and I started in that September following.
Was that just a year program?
No, that was 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
I did complete the first year of that program and completing my solution sales knowledge per se, and then I ended up moving into graphic design, which I felt, and so did my profs at the time, they felt that was the best shift for my talents and for what I wanted to do, which was become, a designer for corporate brands.
Was that a whole nother degree?
So graphic design is a 3-year advanced diploma at Fanshawe. Mm-hmm. So I can, if I wanted, I could bridge my current program on graduation to a university that is partnering with our program, and I could then complete to a degree. Personally, I don't see any point in that because I have no need for that. I already, thankfully, have opportunities in place once I graduate that I'm able to take advantage of.
Okay. And when did you start your own business?
I started my own business approximately a year ago. It started just as making small-time Christmas cards, holiday greeting cards in general, and then I moved on to making paintings of my calligraphy because I was incorporating my art. I was in quite a rut for quite a few years, to be honest, about like 6 or 7 years where I just wasn't really producing any artwork. Very, very influenced by my own issues that I'm going through right now. Definitely a fighter of depression and anxiety. Definitely anxiety-induced depression. So that's something that I go through every day, but it's just a fact of my life, just like somebody's back pain or, maybe somebody broke a leg. It's just something that goes away eventually, hopefully. So it doesn't really affect my work, but it also does motivate me in terms of what I want to do and how I want to motivate others to, get on and work for themselves as well, because there's a lot more to life than just working for somebody.
And I imagine because you're an artist, those sorts of struggles actually can provide you a sense of empowerment at times because they can inspire you to kind of create work, right?
Absolutely, and it's really great right now because I'm feeling in more of a creative state where I'm feeling empowered by my clients. I'm feeling empowered by the work that I'm doing outside of school and within school, that I have a lot of creative drive to do a lot of different things. So it'll be from the typography that I do to the art, and it's just I try to provide as many services as possible.
Do you have any inspirations or individuals that you saw an example that you'd maybe like to emulate a little more?
I would definitely say in terms of, I don't really like to idolize because that's not why I'm here. Again, I'm really strong and adamant about why I'm here and what I'm trying to do, which is create something meaningful, essentially. And I really look up to artists like Logic, for example. I find is a huge, huge inspiration to me through his music and just his general attitude to how he treats other humans, how he wants to change, again, experiences and things that make people happy, which is music. And something like rap music, which, at some times can be really vulgar. And, for sure some of his stuff is, in a sense, vulgar. But I really find that there's, so much raw emotion and so much drive, so much, will to live in his music. And, that's what really pushes me.
So do you have a musical side then?
I absolutely do have a musical side. It's funny you say that, actually. I am a classically trained first soprano. So I've been in choirs kind of all my teenage to young adult life. Haven't been any recently, but my mom was also a deep part of the Fanshawe chorus, more specifically, the Gerald Fagan singers. When Gerald Fagan was still conducting, she was a very active part of that chamber choir, and I was also a big part in a lot of the productions of that choir and group in general. They made some performances, for example, in the Bach Festival in Exeter a few years ago. I cannot tell you when that is again, but that was a really great experience to be in. Classical music is a whole other world, and I really think that other people should get more into classical music, whatever that means for them, whether that be classical by the base value, classical, rock, jazz, like just, the roots. That's where a lot of my inspiration comes from as well, getting to the roots of art. For example, art history really inspires me. And it's really eye-opening, too, to read some of the literature that comes with art history, because a lot of unbiased opinion, not so much opinions, but unbiased takes on stories are actually very much so told throughout history. So that's all I'll say on that one, but it's definitely worth taking a look at an art history course in the future.
The reason I asked about influences is because you look at creative minds throughout history and see that the other side of the coin is they're a tormented soul, and it's almost like a balancing act in their life to use that raw emotion to create their work, whether that's music or art or even media. I just wanted to see if there were any people that you found were kindred souls or that you could relate to,
I would definitely say Chris Cornell was like one of those people that I didn't specifically associate to what they did, but it was more so that they were a creative that was, tortured by their inner demons, and unfortunately they won, and, he wasn't able to continue making amazing stuff. So, I really don't want that to happen to anybody else that might be suffering. Definitely if you ever feel like you don't have anybody to speak to, there's always somebody at the crisis center, the local crisis center. There's one on Huron Street here in London. They're always happy to just talk, and you don't even have to say anything. You can just go and sit there and talk about your day and then leave. They don't care. They just want to make sure you're okay.
What do you find personally are some habits or some activities that kind of help you get out of that rut when you fall back into it?
Essentially, what I'll do when I get into a creative rut is very much so listen to music. I'll try and get out into nature as much as I possibly can, because when you're depressed, you really need vitamin D. You really need exposure to the air, the sounds outside. It really brings your mind out of that static. With anxiety as well, I find that I have a lot of mental static and I can't really focus, and I find that the air is stuffy inside. I can't focus on anything around me, and then I just want to leave where I am, or I just want to isolate and seclude myself. That's not going to help me. It's not going to help anybody else either. So what I'll try and do is get outside. I'll try and do things that, those silly cliche things that everybody says, take a shower or take a bath, relax, maybe pour, a glass of wine, in moderation. I like to mix in, maybe some berries with my wine, just little things that make you happy, not what makes anybody else happy. And that I find that everybody's so focused on what everybody else is doing and how they're appearing on social media, what restaurant they went to on this weeknight. Oh my goodness, I can't believe they did that on a weeknight. Or what bar they went to on the weekend, or what crazy party trick that they're doing, instead of how did you help somebody today? How did you, again, give somebody a different experience than what they're used to? Definitely on the positive side. But again, that's what I want to bring back with my business. I don't want it to be the norm. I want it to be, personable.
How much does exercise factor into that?
I try to. I really don't like going to the gym. I like going and running. I like running outside. I really need to get back into biking. My roommate has been such a good motivator for exercise. My roommate, Garrick, he is probably my best friend I've ever had in my life. He will text me, call me like crazy, get me out of bed, take me out, and we will go on a bike ride, or we'll go to his grandparents' place in Lakeside and we'll go on the dock for the whole day. And it's just, not even to do anything, just to go and take the paddle boat out and to, again, be in fresh air, because that's what will get you motivated. And then, again, when your static is cleared, then you have time and peace of mind to focus on what matters, what makes you happy. And that's what I want to do. What really makes you happy as a business, and how can I represent that in you?
Where would you like to see your business in the next year or next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, I'm hoping that I don't have time for this business with where I'm going.
Yeah.
But in the next year or so, I'm hoping to create more friendships and more connections with local businesses that need branding, that need a logo, or maybe even they just need an ad and they want to get their foot in the door with a graphic designer that has other connections as well with web designers, programmers, payment processing individuals who do that. It's not just about me, right? And that's what it's all about. Again, it's about community. One business connection that you make possibly happens to be through me. Perhaps I can route you to somebody else who can help you. For example, one of my side jobs that I do design work for is a metal decor company called Kibby's Custom Creations. They work sort of out of Komoka, as well as outside of London, and they make home decor with a laser cutter. So, those cowboy silhouettes that you will sometimes see on country houses.
Yeah.
That's essentially what we do, but on a broader scale. Home decor can include even like steel panels that a pattern has been cut out of, and they can get quite intricate. There's a whole bunch of like chain links that I've done. My coworker Candace has also done that. She actually got me into the job with Kibby's. She was working there originally, and they needed another designer. She is actually one of my huge inspirations as well. We met in my program, and she ended up getting me that job. So she's kind of my boss. But like for example, you can meet so many different kinds of businesses just through one business that helps other business, right? Business to business relations are so useful in any day and age, but especially right now when there are so many startups that are looking to just get started, but they can't because everything's so darn expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I understand there's lots of things in play, but with a larger agency, you're paying for all of those expenses. Sure, you're going to get an agency type product. However, that may not be the type of product that your business will be most successful with as well. So there's a lot of things to consider. Sometimes you don't want that corporate look. You don't want that plain, simple font. Sometimes you do. So I kind of equate it that way. I don't think things should be one size fit all, because then in that sense, why am I buying your product when I can just go to Buddy down the street, or if I can just go to Walmart and get it? Why am I even buying your produce then if I can just go to Superstore? These are the questions. If I do get rebuttal, these are the questions that I present to my clients. And if that ends it, that's okay. I don't want to work with those kinds of people because they don't see the value in their own businesses, let alone my business. And that's just a hard dose of reality, unfortunately. How far are you willing to go? Are you willing to just do what everybody else is willing to do, or are you willing to go that extra mile and provide something that somebody will remember in a positive way?
Do you have like a community of artists that you kind of integrate with, or do you have like friends that are in the same field of work that you're in that you kind of like go to for advice, things like that, like a network?
So essentially, for advice, I love to go to my profs at school, actually, because they're working in the field right now as well as teaching. So I really get a true grasp of what's going on in all different aspects of the design process, because like I already have my own design process at low level with working with companies like Kibbe's to providing those templates for die cutting, or sorry, not die cutting, for laser cutting. My apologies. And then I also speak to my profs who are creative directors of companies. They own their own businesses, they freelance, or they're a major publishing, a major figure in publishing companies.
What are some brands that you find you like how their design is and kind of align with the way that you think should embody, I guess, the soul of a company's product or what they offer?
I really love how Lush uses like handmade fonts, and just everything is so like handmade because their soap is literally handmade. All of their products are made by hand, so of course their look would be consistent that way too. In terms of their branding, everything is bare bones and simple, simple shapes over vivid pictures, vivid colors, flowers, organic products type subject material. I really like all the colors that they use. I also, of course, really like IKEA because it's all primary block fonts, all sans serif. It's very pleasing to me in that sense. But I try not to take any external, like any existing brands into consideration because I don't want to base what I'm doing off of something that already exists. So I try not to mix my inspiration with just simply recreation, because inspiration should inspire me to create something from my own imagination, not just regurgitating a concept I've found online. There shouldn't be any one specific process for everybody. It shouldn't be one size fit all because everybody has different goals with their design career and like what they want to do. They have different skill sets, different talents, or even just different interests in general. You know, somebody might be interested in just creating fonts for a company and they really want to create fonts, and maybe they want to create some fonts on the side once they move on from that company. But there's also a lot of like restraints and pros and cons to working with a company as opposed to working like for yourself. With a company, sometimes an agency won't want you to produce your own freelancing work while you're in that agency because it'll conflict with that agency's image and the values. And if you're known through your own clients, perhaps those clients will want to go with you and you can migrate and become competition. So a lot of these factors come into play with what solution is best for you personally as a designer, or even just a creative or business professional that has, you know, a sizable CV or not, or somebody who has a portfolio of any type, architecture, design, art, music, whatever your portfolio means to you. You should really make it all about yourself first of all. Don't listen to what other people want you to put in it. Think about what message you're trying to achieve, what market you're trying to market yourself toward. You know, how are you going to sell what you do to your employer, but more importantly, your target market, the end user or the end viewer of what you're making. So in that case, in terms of like portfolio building again, I would honestly include only pieces that pertain to the specific market that you're applying to. For example, if you have a portfolio with a whole bunch of packaging that looks great, packaging die lines and designs and advertisement designs, but you're applying for a coding-based job where you're designing layouts and coding wireframes or just coding in general, well, nobody's going to care about that. They want to see what you've done in that specific field. For example, if it were to be coding, show them a website that you've made or a web page or a mock-up done on for example, like Sketch or like Photoshop, and like include things that pertain to the field that you're going into, and definitely keep it simple.
So before the show, you were talking about how you were part of the horticulture program at Fanshawe.
So I'm not a part of the horticulture program per se, But I do lead a team of web designers and data entry representatives that work through Fanshaw's work study program at Fanshawe College, and we work on the website called worldplants.ca. So worldplants.ca is a horticultural database where you can find a whole bunch of different species of plants. You can take a look at gardens across the world, what they have to offer, plant resources and articles, helpful PDFs as well on perhaps how to grow a certain plant. We're also expanding on local pests and diseases for certain trees and other plants as well. We're looking to expand into fungi and lichens, I believe, as well. So right now we have over, I believe it's just shy of 10,000 plant articles from plants all over the world. It used to be called Canada Plants, but we found a lot of value in listing plants from all around the world, because it could be that you can have a certain hosta that only grows natively in another part of the world, but it's a great house plant. Well, we want to know about that because you can grow it in Canada still. So we think of more, again, of the end user and what we can provide to that end user that would be using the website and referencing the website. We do get various horticultural enthusiasts emailing us in terms of corrections, anything that has to do with the naming system, or if there's just, straight up a bad image on a plant profile. Our fans of that website will tell us about that.
Speaking of portfolios, I'd like you to take this time to share yours. You can tell our listeners all about all of your social media, your resources, your work, or even websites that maybe you didn't make but that you like to look to for inspiration. So go ahead, this is your opportunity.
Awesome. So I will definitely share my social media at this time. My Instagram is ladesign.co. So that'll be LADES as in Sam IGN.co. And then my Facebook, you can navigate to facebook.com/greatdesignla. That will lead you to my Facebook page with a bunch of portfolio work there. You will see more recent updates and in progress work on my Instagram page. It's a lot more helpful that way. And I do respond on my Facebook page, more so I would say than my Instagram, but you can definitely contact me on both. Other than that, you can navigate to worldplants.ca, which is the website that I've completely redesigned from the bottom up. If you have any feedback as well for future programmers, unfortunately, we couldn't get any programmers this semester because it's a grant-approved work-study program and applicants are very few. Unfortunately, I really wish we would have more applicants that would be interested in the work study, because it honestly is a great opportunity through Fanshawe College. We encourage applicants or potential applicants to apply, and you can work on great projects just like World Plants, or perhaps something within the Fanshawe Student Union in design or even event planning. There's lots of opportunities in the summer or year-round.
Thank you for joining us on this episode. If you or someone you know would like to be on the show, contact us through our social media channels. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Collective Journey. And always keep in mind, this is not just my adventure, but it's yours as well. This is our collective journey.